A little while ago, I tested out a whole bunch of different Chaos Space Marine Terminator recipes to try and find the right colour scheme and legion for my Chaos Space Marine army. And it was a success. We settled on the Red Corsairs. I love their colour scheme, they're bright and bold, and the new minis as well, kind of lined up perfectly. It was great. But I do still want to try different recipes and different schemes, and I like the look of Iron Warriors. They look so cool. So today I've got a Chaos Space Marine Terminator, one left over from this squad. I'm going to paint him up in all lots of silvers and Nuln Oils and bright yellow hazard stripes and paint up our own Chaos Terminator Iron Warriors. Cool, and here is today's poor victim, the Chaos Terminator that's going to become an Iron Warriors. So first things first, we're just slapping off a whole bunch of silver on all of the flat panels. Just it's a coat of Leadbelcher. And I know the first thing you're thinking, because it was the first thing on my mind, is why did you not just prime it in silver? If you're going to put a whole coat of silver over it anyway, it would have saved some time. And there's two reasons. The main one is I don't like putting the same base coat on as what I'm applying with the brush, because sometimes I find it quite awkward to see what coverage we've got and how smooth the coverage is. I feel like it kind of gives you a false view of like how smooth the initial base coverage is. Plus it kind of masks like what you've done and what you haven't done. So just a personal preference, I find it a bit easier. But on a little bit of a technical side, I'm not a massive fan of how like paints apply on top of metallic primers. I've done a couple silver primes before, and yeah, the paint just sits on it in a really weird way, and I'm not a massive fan. It's a bit strange. But like I mentioned, just slapping on a whole coat of Leadbelcher across absolutely everything. And then once we've done this, although actually this shoulder probably should have stayed black for the hazard stripes. Once we've done this and fixed up that shoulder pad, what we'll do is the trim, because we are going to put a whole wash of Nuln Oil over everything. So we need to do the trim before the wash, and the trim will be a Retributor Armour. Right, I'm just prepping the Nuln Oil, just giving it a good shake, because we're going to cover the entire thing head to toe. Well, all the painted sections. I'm going to leave like the gun and the... To be fair, 99% of the model is painted because it's all silver. But one thing I wanted to touch on, just as I'm preparing to drown this boy in the magic sauce, is if you've ever wondered why it's important to thin your paints and why you should do it, I have a perfect example on this guy, because I didn't thin my Leadbelcher enough on one section. And it looks terrible. Yeah, so see the face on his knee there? The teeth. Well, I say the teeth, there aren't any. There used to be some teeth just there. And I don't think I thinned the Leadbelcher enough when I put it on. So, oh wow, that's way too much. Oh dear. I'll soak some of that up. Yeah, I didn't thin it enough, so it just filled in all those little details, and now it looks like a big blob. So, it is worth it to thin your paints, and it is definitely something you should be doing, because yeah, if you don't, it looks like an absolute state like that. One thing you should also do when you do this coat of Nuln Oil is make sure it doesn't pool in the recesses too much. It's down there. Probably soak up a little bit of it. There we go, yeah, just applying a nice layer on. Just going to try and like darken the whole look down, give everything like a sort of a grimmer, darker look, because we're going to come back in a bit and layer up some Ironbreaker and then some Stormhost Silver on top, give it some sort of highlights. So it just sort of grims it and darkens it down a bit. But after we've done this and before we do the layer of Ironbreaker and Stormhost Silver, I want to do a coat of Agrax Earthshade as well. But that coat will be like watered down a bit, thinned out, and it will just be applied just on the silver, not on the gold. Whereas this Nuln Oil is going over everything metallic. There's all of our washes, and also layered up some Liberator Gold on top of the trim, just to brighten it up a little bit. We are going to do a dry brushing of Stormhost Silver in a second, but there's one last thing to do before we do that. We've just spent about half an hour or so darkening down this really heavy, grim dark metal, and now it's time to undo that, or some of it, and layer up some Ironbreaker on top of this silver, just to brighten up some of the bottom sections. So we'll still leave the recesses. I've started on this back panel because it's like probably the best way to show it. So what we can do is we can just sort of we'll thin it down a little bit more. Actually, that's probably a little bit too thick. We get a real thinned down version, and we sort of glaze on some lighter silver. I'm using Ironbreaker just because it's a slightly lighter than Leadbelcher. And there we go, that's everything for the armour. Just finished it off with a quick dry brushing of Stormhost Silver, and man, I love how it looks. It's so cool and unique and different. Like, I can see why people like the Iron Warriors so much. I've never used so many metallic paints on like a base layer before. Like, it was quite funny because obviously you're meant to wash out your paint water after you use metallics, so you don't get like metallic flakes in your non-shiny paints. But I was like, I've only used metallic so far. I get to be a little bit lazy with the paint water, which was quite nice. But yeah, it's really cool, really different. And yeah, I can definitely see why people like it. It wasn't too hard or difficult. It was like quite easy, just a bunch of silvers and gold, and then like a nice dry brushing and washes. It makes like a really cool and really unique effect. I'm really excited. What we'll do at the end is get all of the Terminators out so we can see our little Power Ranger squad. And I'm excited to see him next to everyone because he's, yeah, so like just grim, dark, heavy, and metallic and industrial. It's going to be cool. I'm just putting down some Averland Sunset on the shoulder pads because we are going to do the hazard stripes, and I'm a little bit nervous because my straight line freehand work it leaves a lot to be desired. Alright, moment of truth. We're just going to start by drawing some, oh, I'm already getting nervous, lines. So we'll just, so we want to fill in this corner a little bit, so we'll just do, I mean, this would be a lot easier if I just got some like masking tape or something. I've seen people do that, like just put some tape down and paint over the top. So I could have done that, but I kind of like the idea of practicing some freehand and getting better with it. So, I mean, the best part about stuff like this is like, if it's messy and bad, you can like just tidy it up. So like this is not straight in the slightest. So what we can do is get some Averland Sunset and neaten it up. So what we probably should have done actually is got a thinner brush than this. Even a size 2.0 or 2.5 is probably too big. Cool, yeah, so I think my plan here is just to take these lines and just start to thicken them up, and then it'll just be a case of whack-a-mole of just like, they're too thick, let's thin them out with some Averland Sunset, and then they're too thin, let's thicken them out a bit more and whatnot. So let's just work on the thickening these boys out, tidying them up, and then getting them looking good. One thing I am excited to do actually before we cut to some like montage painting is I'm excited to like put some wear and tear, get some Averland Sunset on a sponge, and like chip out, sponge over the stripes to make them look all like worn and chipped. That'd be quite cool. Look at that, that's not too bad, you know. I definitely think we've leveled up our freehand a little bit. We're no longer at the level of the painting of a 3-year-old. Maybe a 5 or 6-year-old. We're starting to get somewhere. But no, all jokes aside, I'm quite happy with how it looks. The little highlights of not Evil Suns, Flash Gitz Yellow, really added a lot to it, made it look quite nice. The sponging didn't add as much as I'd like a little bit of chip damage here and there. but I thought it'd be a little bit more prominent. Maybe it would have been better if I just got a brush and manually like added some chips. But overall, I'm really happy with how that looks and what it adds to the mini overall. So that's, I mean, to be fair, that's the big chunk of the mini done, probably about 70–80% of it. The armor, the trim, and the hazardous stripe, and it's looking really good. I absolutely love it. It's such a cool look. So I guess all we need to do now is just fill in some of these little details. So we've got like the stuff around the torso, like a skull, a red like tassel, and this tabard cloth down the front that will be like Rakarth Flesh, Pallid, Wych flesh, and stuff like that, like a nice, something nice and bright. And then we can move on to, I guess, what the tusks will be like Zandri Dust and then whatnot. So let's just crack on filling in some of these details. Right, there's just some of the details done, like the tusks, the skulls, we did the cloth down the front. So I'm just sort of moving on to the trophy rack up here, just going to put some browns on. And I will say, the whole point of this video was to test out the Iron Warriors scheme, like the color, the silver armor, the hazard stripes, the gold trim. So as for these little details, I'm not really going too crazy. I'm just putting down like a base coat and maybe a wash. Like the skulls were, like you saw, just some kind of like Ushabti bone and skeleton horde, and then same with the tusks, like just like a Zandri Dust, Seraphim Sepia. I just wanted to mainly focus on the armor for this rather than going crazy on all the little details. Alright, almost done now, just finishing up these weapons, and then I'll slap a base on him and he should be good to go. But I did want to touch on one thing that I was going to mention in the outro, like review section, but I thought while we're just slapping paint around and putting on some Black Legion contrast on some of the weapon casing, and then I guess while this dries I can start working on the skull over here. So yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on, when I started doing this Chaos Terminator paint scheme recipe test thing, I was looking for a chapter, a legion, a colour scheme to use for my army going forward. Because I wanted to build a Chaos Space Marine army. Not necessarily a Death Guard or Khorne or Thousand Suns, just a generic Chaos Space Marine. And while I did settle on Red Corsairs, I was like, yeah, this is the one I like, this is my favourite. A lot of people mentioned, and I also saw when I looked into like the lore and stuff, is you don't actually, if you're playing a Chaos Space Marines, you don't just have to stick to one faction. Like in the lore, it's not uncommon for all the legions to like help each other out and like send helps to each other, or maybe even like the dark gods send favors to like Curon or some like chaos factions to try and like curry their favor. So it's not actually uncommon to see like armies, like Chaos Space Marine armies with like some Black Legion like Terminators, there may be some like Night Lord Raptors, and like them all sort of, because they all have a common goal, right, to kind of like just cause chaos and disrupt the Imperium and whatnot. So it's not uncommon to see a mixture of legions in armies, especially with like the Red Corsairs, more than any other faction, because the Red Corsairs are like raiders, they're like pirates and mercenaries, you know. They'll take in anyone who's just good at killing and good at causing chaos and stealing stuff. So it kind of makes sense that maybe like a lone Night Lord, or maybe like an Iron Warrior, or even just like a squad of them all get together and are like, you know what, we just want to go mess stuff up and make money with Hurons, so let's go and join his squad. Right, we are pretty much done. That's all of the colours on the weapons. I did say I wasn't going to go crazy and highlight everything and give it my all because we're focusing on just like the colour scheme itself. But this black casing of the weapon just looks like a blob. So I am going to put on some edge highlights. So I'm quickly doing that before we get to the review stage. And also one tiny thing I just forgot to do before we look at this boy is the eyes. The eyes aren't red, they're silver at the minute. We want them to be nice and bright and red. So I'm just going to quickly slap on these highlights, the red eyes, and then base him up. Then we can take a look at him, which I guess is the next thing you'll see. And here he is, our Iron Warriors Chaos Terminator, and I'm so happy with how it looks, man. It's so cool. Like, it's such an interesting vibe. I've never used so many metallic colours, especially for the base and like the whole look of the mini. He's somehow like vibrant and bright and interesting, but also dark and menacing at the same time. I don't know how to explain it. But, like, the armor's so shiny and so like, look at me. Then also as you're looking at it, it's like the recesses are all grim and dark and like heavy. This old, worn, metallic like unit just marching forward that's like really menacing. I think the gold and the hazard stripes really sort of sell it and add to it. But like also, yeah, that metallic heavy feel. It's like this like ancient war machine just like marching towards you, like slowly impending. But it is also, yeah, like shiny and vibrant. It's such a cool and unique look, and yeah, do you know what? I really like them. It's probably a little bit too much. I probably shouldn't have done this because now I want to paint some more. But like I mentioned, it kind of makes sense that like a Chaos army would have like spatterings of other legions. So maybe in the future, if I fancy painting up like, I was actually thinking of buying Kravik. Is it Kravik Morn, like the new Iron Warriors hero? I was thinking of adding him to the army, so I could do that. That'd be cool. Or maybe like I've got some Forge Fiends coming, so maybe like an Iron Warriors Forge Fiends just spattering about would be cool. I guess if we can go grab all the Terminators actually and have a look at our sort of Power Ranger squad quickly. And here is, yeah, our full squad of multicoloured Terminators from different legions. And I think it's cool. It is really fun and interesting. Like, I do love having a whole tide of the same colour. Like, I like the uniformity of being like, here's my Black Templars. It's a huge tide of the same black, white, and red, and it's all uniform. But like I keep mentioning, I kind of love the scrappy nature of Chaos, of having like all these different colours and legions together, and it's quite a cool aesthetic. It's almost like kind of like comic book, like Avengers kind of level, like all these unique characters and their colours all like coming together in this group. It's awesome. I do really like the vibe of it, so it's kind of cool. Joe, that was really good. I really enjoyed that, and I've been thinking about why I enjoyed it so much. And I think what happened is, when I started this channel, I said a lot. I was like, I'm not bothered about having an army or playing the game. The whole point is I just want to paint things that look fun and look interesting and cool and stuff that I enjoy painting. That was always going to be the whole channel. Every video, it was just going to be, this thing looks cool, I kind of want to paint it, these colours look fun. And I think I still do that. I still definitely paint things I enjoy. I've never painted anything on the channel that I've been like, I need to paint this for an army, or I need to paint it because it's good for the YouTube. It's always just been, this mini looks cool, I like it. But I think along the way, I have definitely steered more into like army painting in a way with the Black Templars and the Red Corsairs. And I do enjoy that still. I love, like I mentioned, the uniformity of having this big force of the same colour. I really enjoy playing the game. I've actually played some now, so like it's fun, and I really enjoy painting an army to know that I'm going to play this on a tabletop soon. But I definitely think I've neglected that side of the hobby where it's like, this thing just looks cool, and I just want to paint it because it looks fun. And that's definitely what this guy was. Like, I've seen loads of Iron Warriors recently, and I thought, they look kind of cool, let's give it a go. And it was really fun, just like test out a new scheme, try new colours, and also not put as much effort into loads of tiny details. Like I mentioned, the whole point of this video was to just have fun with the Iron Warriors scheme, try it all out, and not really stress over like every skull needs to be blended perfectly. The gun needs to have loads of edge highlights and burn effects. It was just put the colours on, have fun with it, and just enjoy the process. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And it reminded me, yeah, I need to do that more, I think. Find things I'm like, this just looks fun to paint. Not worry about like anything like army stuff or any YouTubey things. Just be like, this colour scheme looks cool. I like this model. Let's just have fun with it. And hopefully you guys had fun too. And there's any other Chaos Space Marine legions that we can put on Terminators, let me know, because I've still got 5 more to paint. As always though, thank you for watching, and thank you to everyone who signs up for the Patreon and the YouTube members. The names, as always, will be up here. I really appreciate all the support and the help. It lets me buy things like Leadbelcher, and what did I buy for this video? I definitely bought a paint. I bought a new pot of Retributor Armour. Yeah, I've run out. So I went to my store and bought some. So thank you. You brought me a pot of Retributor Armour. I really appreciate it. But links in the description for things like Patreon and the Discord. The Discord's all free, so feel free to jump in. But as always, thanks for watching, and tune in next time. Bye.